The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said, "Woe to you Pharisees! You pay tithes of mint and of rue and of every garden herb, but you pay no attention to judgment and to the love for God. These you should have done without overlooking the others. Woe to you Pharisees! You love the seat of honor in synagogues and greetings in marketplaces. Woe to you! You are like unseen graves over which people unknowingly walk." Then one of the scholars of the law said to him in reply, "Teacher, by saying this, you are insulting us too." And Jesus said, "Woe to you also, scholars of the law! You impose on people burdens hard to carry, but you yourselves do not lift one finger to touch them." This is the good news of our salvation. The Orthodox Jews in the time of Jesus were a controlled, legalistic religion. There were 613 statutes of the Mosaic Law. These statutes evolved from the writings of the Old Testament, especially the writings of the book of Exodus and the book of Leviticus and the book of Numbers, where it was held that Moses wrote these stipulations. And each one of them, 613, were imposed by the devout Jew, the Pharisee, and the scholars of the law. They controlled, regulated the Jewish way of life, and they would give advice to anyone who came and asked them to solve cases where they did not know what they should do, how to keep the law in the concrete, ordinary circumstances of their lives. That is the way they lived, according to the law. And if you kept this law, then you would be saved. You earned your salvation by implementing the law of Moses with all its stipulations. But in the same gospel here of St. Luke, when a scholar of the law came to Jesus and he said, "Which was the most important commandment?" The lawyer answered, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength, and you must love your neighbor as yourself." This laid the foundation of the law, the love of God and the love of our neighbor. And this love is seen, as we know in our Christian religion, by comforting one another. Jesus did this in his public ministry in the same Gospel of St. Luke here. Jesus answered that scholar of the law by saying, you must be like the Good Samaritan who took care of a victim of robbers who beat and injured him and robbed him. Whereas the teachers of the law and the Pharisees, the priests, passed him by. Also, we have the sensitivity of Jesus. Say, for example, when he gave back the son of the widow of Nain. He was moved with sensitivity and wanted to comfort that woman as God in human terms. So he raised her only son and gave him back to her. Again, Luke is confiding that miracle to show the heart of Jesus. And we must realize that in our Christian faith, comforting others is most important. After the Last Supper, when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was human as well as divine, and he wanted the comfort of Peter, James, and John to pray with him during that period where he was preparing for the suffering, rejection, torture, and death on the cross. And the 3 disciples did not do that. They fell asleep in the tension and the atmosphere, which was weird and distorted at that particular time. But this sharing with one another, something that Jesus says the Pharisees and the scholars of the law did not do, is an important part of human love and Christian love. I received an inspiring message from a person one time. He had assisted his wife as she was dying of bone cancer. They were a loving couple for almost 50 years. And then she got bone cancer and went through very great pain for 3 years, slowly dying. And when she died, he told me, when my suffering began, I used to think, why did God create this world, the human race? Not only do we have many sufferings from physical terms, but so much evil from sinfulness. And then, during those 3 years that my wife was dying in terrible pain, I received comfort from our children, from other relatives, from friends. And in the last period of her life, a group who took care of the dying came to me and offered to take care of her when medical science could help her no longer. And when she died, I realized, really for the first time, why God created the human race and loves the human race. It was because of the consoling and comforting and care that I received in accompanying my wife during her ordeal. It was a manifestation of human love through consolation, comfort, and service. So this is what Jesus is accusing the scholars of the law and the Pharisees for neglecting. they were thinking of fulfillment of 613 statutes of the Mosaic Law and entirely forgetting the law of love.